newcomers. So welcome you all to back to our Global Blockchain Congress for the second days. As of yesterday, I believe all investors right here and all the projects have joined in with us, have some meetup and maybe form up a fruitful partnerships. As for today as well, we will continue our Congress with lots of interesting panel discussions as well as presentations from our sponsors, all the investors right here. Hope that today would be a very fruitful, interesting sections as well. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Hadi to the stage for a quick information to kick off our meetings today. Please.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the delay. We've been told that there is some rain on the road and people are a little bit delayed. We are already 25 minutes behind schedule, but it's better to have the room at least full when we start. Yesterday we had a great day centered mainly on the opportunity that is Vietnam in the blockchain space. We've heard from a lot of senior people from government and semi-government organization about the vision of Vietnam, both on digitization and on pushing the agenda of blockchain. So we've had some really good insights on what the future looks like, and we're super excited as an organization that is at the center of enhancing ecosystem in this space. We're super excited about the opportunity and the possibility that the Vietnamese market offers. Today we're going to focus more on the metaverse, on Web3, on gamification, on NFTs and DeFi through a series of panel discussion that gathers some of the best experts from all over the world. A couple of announcements from Agora as an organization. We are running the awards, the Global Blockchain Congress Awards at the end of the day. At around 4 o'clock will be the awards ceremony. It is an informal award, but I think it is also something fun to do and gives us a little bit of a glimpse on how investors think. So yesterday we conducted more than 200 meetings in the one-to-one meeting room. Today we're expecting approximately another 100 or so meeting to be conducted between investors and projects that are raising funds. Investors will be asked to rate every project that they have met with between 0 and 10 on their opinion of the probability of this particular project to raise fund. So again, it's nothing scientific, but it gives a little bit of a glimpse on what the investors think. And the 3 winners will be announced at 4 p.m. this afternoon and will be given an award by Agora and by our partner V2B Labs. The other announcement is something that we announced yesterday, and we are continuing it today as well. There is a referral program for our newsletter, Block by Block. On your tables, there's a small sheet with QR codes. One of those QR codes is to subscribe to our newsletter called Block by Block. We are running a competition with the most referrals. The first 3 prizes are $500 in cash through stablecoin. Second prize is a hard wallet, and the third prize is a Vietnamese punk NFT. So please make sure that you participate in the competition, and we look forward to a great day today. Thank you all for being with us.
Right. So to start off with, we have the very first panel discussions. Very interesting topic. As regarding to NFTs and GameFi, I would like to invite Mr. Don Pham, Web3 Business Development Manager of AWS, to the stage, and we will have the topic of gaming and investment, how NFTs are transforming GameFi. And I would love to have the stage for Mr. Don Pham to welcome all the panelists.
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. My name is Don. I'm with Amazon Web Services, and can you come up? I think we've got Amit from Borderless Capital, Lucas from On Blake Ventures, and Vikash from Blue Wheel Capital. Okay, so we're talking about how NFTs are transforming games, and I imagine a lot of you are here because you've heard about NFT games and Axie Infinity. This is something that we're tracking really closely at Amazon Web Services, and we're lucky to have this panel of GameFi entrepreneurs and investors as well. So let me hand it off to everyone to give a short introduction. Laurent?
So my name is Laurent Fabre. I'm the head of partnership for PayFoot. We are building the community of football in the Web3, and I'm very excited to be here. My partner in crime, Thibaut Verbier, who is the founder of the project and an authority on blockchain, couldn't make it due to visa issues, but I'm very happy to share my perspective with you this morning.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucas from On Block Ventures. We are one of the venture capital in Southeast Asia, and we invested in a lot of GameFi in 2021. So we would like to share all the knowledge about this market to all of you, and I hope this will be great. Okay.
Yeah, hi, good morning. I'm Vikash Agarwal. I'm from Blue Wheel Capital, based out of Dubai. We are more of a Bitcoin miner. We are into Ethereum mining, and we have a GameFi fund invested in more than 60 gaming projects as of now.
Hey. Hi, this is Amit from Borderless. So we are a Borderless group, and we are very deep in two ecosystems. One is on the Algorand side, from which we run a number of nodes. We did fund one, we did over 150 investments. Now we are launching fund 2, and then the second is Helium, from which we did staking and mining fund, and now we are launching a second for investments. And then we have our own family office, from which we invest in all the other chains. And increasingly GameFi is like a very deep area that we are very excited about.
Okay, so let's keep the questions with the investors for now. Amit, can you start telling us why are you excited about GameFi and NFTs? Like, where do you see the value and what trends do you see?
Yeah, sure. So, like, for a lot of time, games basically were monetizing by showing ads, by selling kind of in-app stuff. I think the first time blockchain gives an opportunity for games to allow, kind of the average Joe who loves playing to also earn. Like that's the trend that started, like play to earn. And now with I think the biggest trends that are coming for the coming year is immutability across games. So what was very exciting is even yesterday, meeting Angry Mills, Rooster Wars and others here, it was very interesting to see how they are kind of speaking to each other. And I think one of the big things that I would love to see is first within chains, how you purchase an NFT in one game and then you can go and actually use it in another game. So the immutability and right now kind of if you see most of the games like Axie and others, they have invested a lot of monies in branding and trying to create more fences, to keep people within their ecosystem. So what will be very interesting to see how over time these games can actually then go across chain also. So players from one chain can play in other chain and I think the whole gaming industry will benefit as a result.
Sorry, I'd love to follow up. Which way do you think the trend is going to go, to a closed off system or to more of this immutable interoperable system?
I think it has to be interoperable. going forward it has to be interoperable. That's what the industry wants, and that's what I think all the projects will have to eventually adapt to and go towards.
Yeah, hi. So when you talk about gaming trend, so metaverse is a next gaming trend. Now I'm more of a commercial guy than technical, so when I speak about the commercial figures in gaming today, so world has approximately 3 billion gamers, and the blockchain currently has only 40 million gamers. So, and each gamer spends around $15 a month currently. The entire amount, the money is being spent on towards fire-free games, towards Garner or maybe Disney, Sony. So this amount has to come to the blockchain ecosystem, and obviously when you have a game, it needs to be interoperable at least to make it more scalable. So that's very important.
Lucas?
Okay. For me, I think we have to look at the past in last year, 2021. So we can see the growth too fast of the GameFi. In only Vietnam, we can see around nearly 600 GameFi appears in 2021, but only 10% can survive, and 90% disappear, or maybe they die before its success. So we can see that the growth picture, we just very early stage of the GameFi industry. So I think the vision of the GameFi from 2022, we can see that the more high quality game, the AAA, it takes a lot of time, take up lots of resources, lots of money to build a game. And we have to, I think the successful GameFi, we have the very interesting gameplay. They focus on the team building, focus on the graphic and the animation, everything is smooth. And so from the view of the capital ventures, we see that if we invested in that kind of game, it maybe make us more successful with the GameFi. Yeah.
It sounds like you've got a great project you should consider.
Yeah.
Laurent was telling you about it earlier.
Yeah, among the key trends we see in GameFi, we see that e-sport is becoming more and more important, and I think is very exciting for everyone. I must say the main source of information for me on that point is the activity of my 14-year-old son and the way he interacts with esports. Another trend that I see that is very key is more and more collaboration. I think that's something that is going to carry on building up, not just you playing individually in front of your screen, but in collaboration with others. And another key trend I would probably see growing in the future is more and more competition and loyalty, which obviously are related.
Okay, so I heard Lucas talk about how he's excited by AAA games, and I would love to hear from the investors, what are you seeing too much of, and what are you not seeing enough of? Like, what gets you excited?
Yes. Okay, about the AAA games, like some games that we invested, like the Moonray game, we have to look at the traditional game. Traditional game, they have take a lot of time to build a game. From, for example, some studios, they have to take from 3 to 5 years to build a good games in traditional way. But now you can see from when they have applied the blockchain to the game or NFT based, it takes only few months or just only 1 year to build a game, to release it. So we can see that if the game developers, they take just a few time to build the game. So we can see that the projects is not strong. It doesn't have the strong foundation, and so we think we should look at the experience that the studio has. Maybe in the future we can see some big guy from the game. Maybe if they want to move to jump to the blockchain space, to the NFT space, maybe they will buy some studio games, small studio games, to release some NFT games. You know, some small studio games can it costs around $1 billion to $3 billion. So if they buy some studios, they can try in a new space, because it's very difficult to move from a traditional game to the blockchain game. So they have to try with some small studio. So I think if they buy some studio game and they can release some game, so they jump in the new space, so they will realize what they have to do, what they have to need to develop. So I think so.
So I believe gaming is the door to adoption of the blockchain. So very important, because we will have the young youth used to adopt blockchain throughout the world, and gamify is something which has been very interesting for them for adoption. Sooner or later they would come and start playing gamifies. They start trying to earn money out of. So I'm very excited about like what happened in Axie Infinity during COVID times, where people were earning their livelihoods through gamify. So that is one of the angle of gamify for the world. Start adopting blockchain, start playing, start contributing to the community.
So what I've seen a lot of and what I've seen less of, right? That's the question. Yeah. So I think just building on on like a lot of games. One of the themes was lossless lotteries. So we saw like a lot of lossless lotteries coming in. People bringing those kind of that element to it. One key thing which still remains is a lot of these games still which have blockchain. Sometimes they have to compromise the gaming experience, gaming element, for the adoption of the blockchain. So what will be very interesting is having like a real solid game incorporate blockchain and not compromising the gaming experience. So I think that is something which, if it happens, it will be the holy grail.
So Lucas was talking about this trend of smaller studios getting acquired to transition to NFT games. What's your thought on what kind of game should be on blockchain and what kind shouldn't be?
So I think eventually, for me, I don't see any game which should not be on blockchain. Eventually I see, like, I'm a big proponent of blockchain, so I think all of the games eventually should have a blockchain element to it, because it helps massive, like the whole economics and the interoperability, the immutability, the transparency, all the benefits of blockchain, they transfer into the gaming world. Now it just so happens that like some of the bigger kind of the bigger studios, they are still adopting to that. Is actually a very interesting trend happening this year also. So a lot of bigger studios, they have dedicated budgets to kind of focus on gaming this year. So I think that is an interesting trend which will also move the adoption of like traditional Web2 studios to adopt blockchain. But I think I don't see any like demarcation where if there is a particular game we should not. For me, like eventually it will take some time, but all the games should have a blockchain element.
So when we are talking about game and gamify, and blockchain, so blockchain is something which is very, very, I will call it as a holy, because blockchain enables these gaming companies to reduce their cost. It is immutable. There have been experiences and there have been live examples where I'll take example of Georgia, who converted their entire land records to blockchain. They end up reducing the manpower and corruption by 70%. So when we talk about gaming in blockchain, it's all about a concept of we keep the gamify away from it. It becomes more easy for them to store the records, for immutable records for the players, their data, and more efficiently being transparent. The players' records being more transparent and more trustable. So that is what the blockchain brings to the game.
Okay, and Ahmed had mentioned earlier about making games immutable and interoperable. This makes me wonder if the opportunity isn't in the games themselves, but startups that provide services to the games. Have you seen startups like that? Let's say maybe guilds or something else?
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting point. So, like guilds are very important. Like they bring a lot of players kind of to some of these games for the adoption side. I think it has to be a combination. So yes, startups that provide services, they have to go and kind of adopt more interoperability. At the end of the day, for me, like the CEOs, the people who have created the games, they need to have an open mind, and eventually, I think once they see the bigger picture on how the players in their game, they are not losing out on those players by making it interoperable. They are actually benefiting, from other players in other games coming into their games as well. I think that will really like make a big push. So for me, yes, the service providers, it also has to be the founders of the games, and it has to be the chains as well. So all of those have to combine and kind of try to make this open.
Lucas, any thoughts on startups that provide services to GameFi?
Yeah. Okay, I think about if we compare with the traditional game, I think we don't need to all the traditional games have to move to blockchain, especially some small game, some game that's just for relaxing, for the crowd for have fun. Especially where if the game they have the very small, very short life cycle. Yes. So if you can see, if they move to the NFT blockchain, they need more money, they need more to strategy and marketing fee to the market. So, but if the life cycle of the game is too short, you cannot keep the active user play in the game for a long time. That is the game will die. So I think only some game have gameplay and have a very interesting story. They have to put a lot of resources to the game. They should move to the NFT because we can see with NFT and with the blockchain, we can see the more people jump into the blockchain, the more they will move to the NFT. They will know how to use the NFT. They will know how to create the wallets, how to play in the blockchain area. So that is will attract more users jumped into the blockchain games. I think so.
So we have a GameFi operator here, and he was telling me earlier about his vision for esports in the blockchain. And I think you made an analogy of going from gray TV to color TV. Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah, I think the immersive experience that you can expect in Web3 is going to take over other experiences. It's as certain as color TV has replaced black and white TV. Black and white TV lasted as long as color TV took over, and I think the same phenomenon is going to appear. Having said that, if we make a parallel with the cinema, producing a series today of the level of quality we see on Netflix comes at a cost. And even though players today are enjoying the mechanic of a reward through NFTs, I don't think pay-to-play is dead. FIFA is still a game today that has required hundreds of millions of US dollars investments, and as a result, the content of the game is still there and here to stay. In parallel, if you look at the world of football, which we are very close to with PayFoot, a lot of football fans today are playing managing teams games that are free and mostly play to earn, and this is also a big trend. And right now, there's opportunities there to monetize.
So a follow-up question with Lucas. Lucas was talking about the length of games and your concern if games are going to probably die very quickly. What are you looking for to see if that happens? Are you looking at game economics? Are you looking at what blockchain they use, or some combination?
Yes. when we investing in the game, we should look at first is the gameplay. Is it interesting game? Can it attract more users? And I see, especially some game we can see they focus on the story. They telling story in the game. We invested in 2 games named Moonray, and 1 game is Sky Chronicles. So they build and they write the story before they creating the games. A very interesting story, and they will lead the users from this story to that story, lots of story and interesting, and that makes attract more users to jump in, play in that game. So I think this is the most important decision to create an interesting game, and the gameplay. The gameplay, I can see the change in from 2022. I think that is MMORPG. MMORPG is a massively multiplayer online and role-play games. That means many people will jump into the game to play with, and we can interact with each others, and we can have the battle between maybe the 1v1 or 2v2 or even 50 battles between many people will attract each others to be the winner. So we can create the prize to the winner. Who is the winner will get the prize. So I think there are many things we can create to attract more users in the game file. But it depends on the game developers, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like between AAA games that have really sophisticated gameplay versus casual games, you're much more into AAA games. Yes. Okay, so he favors you know, good content and good gameplay. What do you like?
If we talk about gaming dying or the quality of games, so what I feel the most important, why do children come or maybe people come and play Gamify today? So it is more of a earning mentality than a fun than a playing and having fun kind of thinking. So the first thing is economic viability. So until the games have rewards and rewards tokens or something available, they keep on rewarding children or the players who come to play. The second is when you compare to like AAA game like Candy Crush, or you talk about PUBG. So Candy Crush has more than 2,000 gaming playing levels. So it's psychology is most important part of any gaming play today. So there's 21 days psychology, then you get bored of anything in the world. So that's normally what happens in games. So when you have more levels to play, which is scalable, you have more people who can come and play in the tournaments like PUBG. At PUBG you can have 150 or 200 teams playing at a time, having tournaments. So, but you don't have this kind of scalability in blockchain games today. So we invested in more than 60 gaming projects, only 5 games are live, rest all are working for last 1 year to make it live. And when they come up with the game, the levels are 1 or 2 levels, and I don't see kind of operational scalability or the operational efficiency in the game. So that needs to obviously improve to attract and keep your audiences. It's all about business, so you need to be best at your business if you want your audiences to be with you.
You know, I totally agree. Like, I think gameplay, keeping it interesting, multiple levels. Just the additional thing is tokenomics. So like, I think what we have seen, what works great in gaming is like a dual token model. So you have one governance where the kind of players are rewarded for participating in the governance, and one like the in-game rewards token, the more of the utility side. And like for example, Axie's like in-game reward, like it's uncapped. So that's one of the things we saw. So we invested in like around 10 gaming projects now. And so one was more Alchemon, which was more of a card playing game. So this is all on the Algorand ecosystem that we are heavily focused on. One of the things we did is the in-game reward, we capped it. So that's one thing, we see like, okay, and we work very deeply with the gaming companies. Okay, you need to have a cap even on the in-game kind of utility tokens. And the other thing is like the classic challenge which happens is inflation. So how they are trying to tackle the inflation problem for the in-game reward token, like, you know, are they attracting, and it's that is very parallel to what we are seeing in the world today, like inflation is happening. So it's just demand and supply. So you know, as the token, so are they applying like burn back? Are they employing more users to come and build on the game to tackle inflation? What are the strategies they are doing? So just building on what others said, I think that is other area which we kind of also evaluate.
Okay, so Amit mentioned an interesting point here. Axie Infinity has this token system where there's a governance token that has a cap and an in-game token that doesn't have a cap. And it sounds like Amit has invested in games where there's an in-game token but they have a cap. You know, for the founders here who are trying to figure out their economic system, I guess first question would be, what happens when you hit that cap for the in-game token? And is this a system that you advocate?
Yeah, so generally the entire kind of crypto ecosystem in general, they like when they know, okay, what is the total amount of tokens that's going to be minted. Nobody likes uncertainty. So generally what we recommend, but the cap is usually high enough. It's like, it could be like 10 billion, 100 billion, even more, 1,000 billion, but it's a very high cap, but there is some certainty to, okay, this is the total number of tokens that will be minted, and it will be over a period of 5 to 10 years, so that, you know, you are also incentivizing users to kind of continue playing the game over 5 to 10 years. The bigger problem happens in, you know, when initially you give out too many rewards, and, you know, then that starts creeping into inflation. Land becomes more pricey, all in-game assets become more pricey. So then the idea is, okay, what you do? You take the transaction fees. One simple way is take the transaction fees, burn it, right? So you control inflation. But there are some other methods, like, you know, what they can do is they can also create like staking pools. Like, so that's one thing we recommend, like take the in-game reward tokens, create staking pool, liquidity pools. So that's another way of giving value back to the people who are coming into the games. And the other is constantly incentivizing more and more users to come in. The more users come in, they play, it again controls inflation.
Lucas, any thoughts on this?
Okay, for me, the most important difference between the traditional game and the GameFi is that in GameFi we have the old economy. We have tokenomics. The tokenomics, that means we have the money in the game. Yes, so we have to run the economy in your game. It's different from the traditional games. Traditional game we have just jump in and to play, and they focus on the gameplay and the animation and the graphic. But in the GameFi we have the own money, the in-game money tokens, the economy. So we have to run the specific economy in your game. So you have to balance between the game creators, between and the users, the players. So I think it's very difficult to control the money in the game. So who can control the money in the game, the economy in the game, will be successful, I think. And I think it's we don't have the perfect formula, the fixed formula for any GameFi, because the different GameFi will have the different gameplay, and that means lead to the different tokenomics and different economy. So what you have to do is you focus on the game, focus on the balance, how to keep the balance between the builders and the players and the users in the game. I think so.
Would you like to make a pitch for your game's tokenomics?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, just to explain the PayFood project, we are gathering people primarily based on their passion for football in real life. When you're a football fan, you're supporting a club, and a club like FC Barcelona, for example, has 180 million fans, more or less, give and take. Most of them are not based in Barcelona. Most of them will never go to Barcelona. So the opportunity there is in the digital world is that they can actually connect with the club in a way that is unprecedented. With an asset like a virtual stadium, they will actually ultimately be able to watch the game in a much more convincing an enticing experience than what they can actually see on TV today. And a football fan that will be in this universe will look for entertainment, but the first thing he's looking for is connecting with the life of the club. Is taking a share in deciding who's the best player ever of the game, what was the best goal of the season, and what's going to be the result in the next game. So just to come to your question, it's just to show the potential we have here. Obviously, there will be a convergence between gaming in the world of esports, and FIFA is a very good example. I think it's probably still the game that is most played. Bringing NFTs and bringing benefits and tokens as a reward for your performance, and the collaboration that you mentioned, I think, is also a very key trend, is inevitable. So, long story short, I think if we take the best of both worlds, there is a great future ahead of us.
Okay, so last question before we wrap up. For all the panelists, what NFTs do you consider valuable, and do you own that NFT?
I think we have opportunities to create new NFTs. Just coming back to the virtual stadium, if I'm a football fan today, the best I can buy today is a season ticket for the next season. In a virtual stadium, I can buy, I can win through gaming, an eternity seat in the stadium. This is one of the things we are making with the bigger clubs, the Champions League level clubs. We are making very segmented marketing programs to actually earn eternity seats, which means a relationship to the club that will last and that I can transmit to my son, share with my friend, etc. So we are creating assets of a new value, and this is where the digital world can contribute to make the real world a better place. Once again, if you think of the 180 million supporters of Football Club of Barcelona, they will be able to have a forever relationship to the club thanks to that. This is opportunities to create incentive that go well beyond just the monetization of an NFT.
Yeah, and I think we have I have an idea that we can make the NFT more valuable. That is because we know now we have many blockchain, right? We have many layer one in the blockchain industry. So now we have Ethereum, Solana, Phantom, Avalanche. Yes. So I think if the NFT can live in the cross chain, they can live in many layer one. So we will make the NFT more valuable. Especially I can see some NFT in the game. If that studio they launch 5 or 10 games, and we can use that NFT in that 5 and 10 games. That is make more the NFT more valuable. Yeah, we invested in the game named Tatsumiko. Tatsumiko they have and Kayak Chronicles. They have three games, but you can use that NFT in all the games in that studio make. And with the Tatsumiko, we can use the NFT cross-chain, and you can play the game anywhere, even on the Discord, even on the Solana and Ethereum. You can play any layer one you like.
Yeah. Ahmed, what NFT do you consider valuable, and do you own?
So, like for me, the most valuable NFT, so just I totally agree. I think when you have a big studio and you have a cluster of 3-4 games, and the same NFT can be used, like I think that makes it very valuable. The other ones that like I really love are some which are very unique. So when, for example, the founder, sometimes the NFTs have like the design that they had or the idea of the story play that they had. Some of them are, so those are more collectible NFTs. So I mostly have the NFT, for example, on like where it is mostly used across the kind of ecosystem of games. But I would love to have some collectible NFTs as well, which is like the original paper where they wrote the design or on those kind of collectibles.
So according to me, NFT are more valuable when they are with the real business, with the real assets in the world. So recently I bought an NFT of a first postal NFT of Emirates Post. So they just came up with 50th year edition, which was the first NFT. So I personally believe all this kind of records which create your record of ownership of something which are very rare, are more valuable than anything which inflates or deflates the valuation by branding, and then again when the market dumps it comes down. So according to me.
Okay, I think we're done with time, but thank you all for coming and sharing your thoughts.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Don Pham, and also the four panelists, the experts in GameFi right there, have shared with us a lot of insights, a lot of visions of the GameFi collaborations with NFTs. To follow up, as the previous panel discussions, we have mentions about NFT and GameFi, and as you might have heard, the metaverse keyword as well, quite a trending words right now in our blockchain field. I would like to follow up with the next panel discussions. We still have Mr. Don Pham will be the moderators for this panel discussions with the topic of the metaverse, the future, or just another gimmick. Please.
Hey, it's me again, Don. So for the panelists, we have Will Doe. Will, can you come up? Will is from Hobbit Investment. Deval from New Tribe Capital. Kim Lee from AV Star. And Arpit from Polygon. Is everyone here? Hey, good to meet you. Will? Okay, so while these guys get settled, let me give you guys an introduction. You guys have probably heard a lot about the metaverse, and here, don't be embarrassed if you probably don't understand what the metaverse is. I think a lot of us are still trying to figure this out, and so one of the intro questions I'll have for you guys is, tell us what you think the metaverse is, what's your vision for the future, and where does this come from? Is the metaverse going to come from gaming, social media, some combination? Will, you want to start?
Sure. Thank you, Don. So I've done a little research actually not long ago. So based on my understanding, meta is beyond and verse is universe. So it's beyond the universe that we're having right now. And also the term metaverse is actually coming from a science fiction. So it's called Snow Crash. It's by Neil Stephenson. And in the fiction, actually, the term, it was like the characters have to interact with each other through virtual reality. And that's why they called it the metaverse. And based on that, I believe that we're moving forward to a future where we will not looking at our phones anymore. We'll be looking at each other, but through another reality, which is the metaverse. Thank you, Don.
Deval?
Sure. For me, metaverse is a fun place for users to interact in a way, right? Like it allows users to do things which is not really possible in a real world life as such. So to give you an example, someone who is in a wheelchair can potentially run a marathon in metaverse, or someone who is a big fan of a musician but cannot really travel across the world to see him or her can potentially go to the metaverse and see the concert. So essentially the vision for me for Metaverse, it's driven by use case. There are multiple use cases out there, and how to take advantage of like, the Metaverse and like, bring the utility out there. That's where I actually, yeah, seeing a lot of benefit in the future.
Okay.
As far as I know, the Metaverse is like a virtual universe where the people who we can do everything you want in the real world. We are accessing the universe and Metaverse as Metaverse. So nowadays, the Metaverse is extremely necessary in blockchain, and many projects we are building based on Metaverse via the gaming, traveling, and working. So I think the Metaverse is super potential and helpful in our life in the future.
Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Arpit, but I think I got ahead of myself, and people didn't really do proper introduction. So please introduce yourself and then tell us your professional interest in the metaverse.
Thanks, Don. Hey, so basically I'm representing Polygon here today. So Polygon is a Ethereum scalability solution. So we have over 20,000 decentralized applications today on Polygon network. We have over 150 million unique users on network. A lot of Web3 games are supported by Polygon. The most popular metaverses, Decentraland, Sandbox, Somnium, all of these are on the back end supported by Polygon. So we have a lot of interest in this. So now coming to the question that we were discussing, what is the metaverse? So there are a lot of different ways of looking at it. But how I look at metaverse, this is, and if you think deeply, this is just opening up a new venue of life. So basically, what do we do in general life? We interact, we communicate, we transact, right? We own things in this world. I don't need any third party to tell me if I own something or not. If I own it, right? So essentially, all of these things, when translated into a digital world, culminates into something which we call as metaverse. So this is, taking something from this life to a digital space where you can interact with people without any boundaries, where you can transact with them, where you can create value. So, of course, there are interesting use cases, but at a philosophical level, I think that's just opening up of a new avenue for life in the virtual space. That's how I look at it.
And Will, you talked earlier about Snow Crash, and I guess we could talk more about science fiction, like Ready Player One. Your fund is named after The Hobbit, is that right?
Right.
Okay.
No, because. Thank you, Don. My name is William. I'm from Hobbit Investment. Yes, the term Hobbit is from Lord of the Rings, but basically it's because I'm a little small, so that's why I took after that name. But yeah, so can you please repeat your question for me?
Sure, and what's your investment interest in the metaverse? Have you invested in metaverse projects, and what are you looking for?
Perfect question, because my investment preference actually is AAA games and metaverse projects. I believe that most of the panelists on here are my investors also for this one project called Volta. And actually Volta is the title sponsor for this event as well. It's called Fight of the Ages, and it's a metaverse gaming project based on blockchain technology.
Okay, great. Deval?
Yeah, so I'm Deval from New Trap Capital. We are early stage VC fund based out of Dubai. Essentially, sector and chain agnostic when it comes to investment. From an investment thesis point of view, just like every other VCs out there, in the last quarter we went quite heavy within the metaverse gaming and NFT sector. This particular quarter we are looking at projects which are more in the infrastructure layer one and essentially like CCIP and tech-driven project. Not to say gaming metaverse is not a focus, it will still remain like 30 to 40% of our portfolio. But the market has saturated to a point like, we are really focused on projects which are bringing utility utility which is essentially an engine or a platform associated towards the infrastructure when it comes to metaverse and gaming. So that's what we are looking for in a nutshell. Coming to your question, Don, in terms of the projects that we have invested and some of the key ones that stands out just back of my mind is Second Life. That is one of the project we invested like a month back from Binance Lab. What we liked is the users able to like roam around in the metaverse, able to like go to nightclubs, they can go to the workspaces, they can go to like essentially different malls where they can shop around as well. They had Martin Garrix last month and the concert was really successful. As William mentioned, like FOTA is another project that we have invested as well, where the real world players, their fantasies can essentially come to life, right? The other ones is I would mention more from a product perspective as well. It's important to look at is Sinverse, like where it's a R-rated adult industry, although but like there's so much revenue and growth that is being shown in that particular space. Even though it's more about diversified and very much emerging experience of the underworld gaming side of the things, you can see a lot of metaverse land and plots being sold on the project. And yeah, there was a time it went quite crazy. But where I see like essentially as Arpit was mentioning, Decentraland and Sandbox, they are predominantly leading this particular space. But when games like GTA, Grand Theft Auto, they come into the market, we are essentially in the Web3 space. That's when we will start seeing a lot of actions and movement in metaverse as well.
Nice to meet you in person, Deval.
Yeah.
Kim, can you tell us about AV Star Capital and the kind of investments you guys are making?
Yes, sir. AV Star Capital is the capital from Indonesia and Vietnam. We are from 20 cities, and our capital is focused on invest around the decentralized blockchain, metaverse, GameFi, and the exchange. We are the capital is right. We develop and have the blockchains who develop from Vietnam, and they want to route in Indonesia, so we can support the marketing, marketing and over the investor in Indonesia to the develop in Vietnam. Nowadays we invest over 100 blockchains, and totally we have invest already over $20 million.
Oh, wow. Okay, so over 20 million and over $20 million and 100 investments. Okay, great. This would be a question for the investors. So when I hear about the metaverse, and we're at a blockchain event right now, are the two necessarily connected? Can you have a metaverse without a blockchain?
For me, I think blockchain technology should be the base for the metaverse, because what do you do in the metaverse world if it's without blockchain? I don't think the in-game economy can sustain the development of the metaverse, because the metaverse is like another reality that we're living right now. But if you don't have cash, if you don't have fiat to actually move on to how do you do transactions in the metaverse, how do you do business in the metaverse, you have to go through some type of an integration with another technology to make sure that the transaction is protected, and the blockchain technology is perfect for that. That's from my opinion. What about you, Deval? What do you think?
Completely agreed, Will. In terms of yeah, like look, blockchain is important in terms of like growth aspect of it, but from a user perspective, it should be seamless. So essentially, if they are actually looking for tickets to an event, it shouldn't be like something their user should rely on a particular native tokens as part of the wallet. It should be seamless enough for them to buy through fiat, and in the background, the utility in terms of how the whole ecosystem has been designed, that will be much more important. And again, like all these different like games which are leading this particular space, it's a mass adoption in terms of like, user growth. That is where the focus is. So more volume is generated, more it's good for the business. So yeah, that will be on a high level, my thoughts.
With the metaverse in the blockchain, we can use for decentralized governance user governance, and reliable and a TRIයෙන් NFT. So actually, we don't know how far and how long could it take for the build fully optimized for metaverse. But I strongly believe that the developer always try to develop with the rater and rater more than that we know today. That's why.
Okay, so when I hear
Yeah. So, so I think I will very specifically, answer this question: why is blockchain needed? Is metaverse possible without blockchain? So, in somewhere in 2003, this game called Second Life launched. It has been there since that time. Now, the value that blockchain brings, if you look at it, before blockchains were there, it was not possible to own any digital assets in the real sense. So that fundamental thing is really critical, because if you say a metaverse and you tell me that this is an extension of your physical life here in a virtual space, right? Ownership is one of the key fundamental things that needs to be there. You cannot have central systems owning tokens or owning your assets and leasing them to you as they are in Web2, right? So blockchain is an essence to what metaverses are going to evolve. Second point, metaverse is not going to be a it's a one term that we use to capture a lot of things, right? Essentially, future is going to look like, how it is going to look like maybe is, there are going to be a lot of these virtual worlds, let's say a world focused on sports, something related to gaming. Then I have been working with a lot of projects in retail space. But I have been working with a lot of, let's say, government agencies which are creating their own extensive, these virtual worlds, and then all of them will come together, and this, this aggregate, you can call that multiverse, let's say metaverse, right? And what will be important there is that there is interoperability and exchangeability of these assets from one metaverse to the other metaverse, and there is a identity that you have which you can use seamlessly across these different virtual worlds. Now that is where blockchain becomes really critical for this.
Okay, so Arpit just shared, so I guess blockchain ensures ownership in the metaverse. So that seems to be a real pain point. So one question I have for the investors is, when you're making investments in these metaverse projects, and let's say one of these scales, does that metaverse project itself become centralized? Like, how do you think about decentralization here for these projects?
Okay, so for me, when I invest in the metaverse, it's actually not a 1 to 2 years kind of investment. So it's kind of like a 5 to 10 years kind of investment, and it's gonna take a long time. So decentralization is similar, something like that, because how do you move from people having a middleman in whatever they're doing with like banking system, the government system, and from a user's point of view, I have to go through a third party to actually do any kind of transactions. So now we have this decentralization. It actually opens another world for users like us, where we can go straight directly to another user to do transactions. And this opens a lot of things for business opportunities, for development. And once that happens, the metaverse comes in and wrap everything up and become another as I said previously, another reality for us. So decentralization plays an essential role in this for me. So this is my take on it. It's not very technical oriented, but it's from my investment point of view.
Deval, do you have any thoughts on a decentralized metaverse?
Yeah, I mean, look, it can be. I would say this is where the DAO structure comes into the play, and it's very, very important on how the DAOs are being structured. It's not just from the metaverse point of view. I think it's more from the crypto industry itself. Like, you know, it's so much important to bring the whole structure in more decentralized way. So, like, you know, having a DAO governed in a way there is a governance or a voting proposals out there, and which essentially gives a sense of comfort or a feeling to the community that they have a stake of partnership in the project. They would be able to, like, you know, provide a lot of input to the decision making roadmap as such. That is where the decentralization comes into the play, right? Like, you know, and if you look at the past projects which have been able to, like, set up the DAO structure quite rigorously, they have succeeded. So yeah, I feel like, you know, having a proper DAO structure will be a good way to kick off the whole decentralization.
Kim, any thoughts on this? Your thoughts on this? Okay.
Don, just I would like to build on top of what Dhaval said, you know, and this is a very important point. So if you look at, again, if you look at DAOs, you know, this is a structure that we have created, but essentially what it allows you, or it allows the user to actually decide the fate of that project, you know, where that is going. And that is a very powerful idea. Now everybody knows transparently how things are going to evolve. So, you know, if you kind of draw these parallels, this is akin to, let's say, something of democracy, right? So there is a process, how things will move and how things will change in that ecosystem. So I think this is an area which is again going to see a lot of activity in times to come for metaverses to mature, you know, eventually.
Can you tell us about some metaverse projects that you've seen that are being built on Polygon?
Yeah, so you know, these popular ones everybody knows, yeah, Decentraland and Sandbox. I'll talk about something which...
These are all on Polygon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, these are on Polygon. So like everybody knows about this. In Decentraland there have been a lot of activity, a lot of you know, concerts, gated experiences, all of that has been built. I have been working with few projects that I will not be able to you know, discuss a lot of details, but let's say there is a retail focused metaverse. You know, it will have a lot of multi-brand experiences. It will have all the transaction layers that are needed for e-commerce. It will have all the lead generation kind of activities, and all of this is going to be really like very high. You know, from a graphic perspective, it is going to be really high definition. On, you know, totally different from what Sandbox or Decentraland is, right? So it will become a very realistic retail experience. Another project that I'm currently working on is, you know, it is for our transportation sector client, right? So we are going to create a metaverse experience for this. For example, you can, let's say, now whenever you are waiting for that particular, you know, client, you can just go. There will be metaverse spots that will be set up. You can go in that metaverse, and all the retail outlets that are there, they can be part of that metaverse. You can go and explore. And these, now what value this creates is, for the user, it gives them real estate to lease out to people who want to market their stuff on. So essentially, without expanding your physical boundaries, you have immediately set up an alternative revenue model for the client. So that's the very near term thing that happens. Secondly, from the client engagement perspective, essentially now you have tapped into that useless time that, you know, people were just wasting whiling around. You have taken a slice of that time, and now you are utilizing to bring marketing value to the clients who are paying you to be part of that metaverse. So essentially, this is something which kind of creates that, you know, win-win-win triangle. For customers, get better engagement, they get better deals. The operators get more revenues, alternate revenues, and the service providers get marketing channel which has captive audience right now. So I think this is again going to be interesting. Yeah. So then third would be, let's say, for two different you know, sovereign nations, we are working on something called as cultural you know, metaverse experiences. So, you know, countries they can create very extensive cultural things to reach out to expats, to reach out to you know, people who want to know more about this, and this becomes a very important piece in, let's say, diplomacy tomorrow. You know, when I know more about that country, I can go and explore that. So to engage their citizens better, governments are also trying to do this. So these are some of the interesting things that I'm working on currently.
It sounds like ARPIT actually has a very clear view of the metaverse and what it looks like in the future. So my next question is, how do you get those first 100 or 1,000 early adopters to get into this universe? Because ARPIT is describing a world where there's a lot of commerce, there's tourism, there's advertising, but how do you get to the first step? Will, you have any ideas?
Sure, this is what we're doing actually right now, even with photo, right? Raising awareness is so important. I have to go to these kind of events, setting up a booth like, outside we have like the AR integration with our game, and then we let the people play it so that they can have a little bit of the demo version of how you're going to be in the metaverse. Right now, it's actually the mixed reality that we can, it can be called metaverse, because if it's just one-sided VR, virtual reality, it's not completely called a metaverse. You have to have the AR side to it, and actually when we do raise awareness for this kind of
AR is augmented reality?
That's true. Yep. So when we do these things for FODA, it's actually helping to raise awareness and also educate the public what kind of the metaverse, what we're building right now for FODA, for the games. And for me, gaming is a great way to introduce this aspect to the people, because it's fun and exciting to engage with the public. Because if it's through something else like education, or education is a great way actually, where people can learn to do hospital skills. I'm surgery through the the HoloLens, or even the VR function, that they can actually perform surgery on in the metaverse without having to actually do it on somebody's body. And that to me is actually how you interact with the public and actually engage them to the metaverse.
You're talking about a virtual surgery.
Yeah, that.
Deval, what are your thoughts on early adoption of metaverse? How do you get these first 1,000 users onboarded?
Yeah, look, it again goes back to the use case, and where exactly are we trying to adopt this, users as such, right? For within the metaverse space, let's say commercial business out there, they are already bringing, taking an example of Adidas or Nike or Zara, H&M. These guys are already having virtual malls. Within the malls itself, they are having their shops, which means they are already generating jobs within metaverse. It's more of a fantasy for the real world users, where they are able to go to these shops, they are able to buy the products online and then get it delivered at home, which is through the e-commerce. So the big brands or the giants leading this space already brings a lot of adopters and visibility within the metaverse space. Although talking more onto the gaming side of the things, it's more in terms of are we bringing the gamers to earn, or are we actually making them in that particular space to have fun? So if we are getting more and more gamers onboarded to actually have fun, rather than concentrating on the earn element as such, the adoption will come. It will follow eventually, and that is where some of the projects are falling behind. And what we have seen is there are all these different models with play to earn being associated, but they are forgetting about the critical element, which is the guilds and the gamers, and how they can be actually easily adopted within the whole metaverse and the gaming side of the things. As soon as this all this ecosystem utility and how the users or the gamers, they can actually play a role, can be properly defined for a project, alongside the marketing, the adoption will follow.
Okay, and a question for all of you.
Yeah.
In terms of the metaverse projects you're seeing, is there a certain type that you see too much of, and is there's a type that you want to see more of that's missing?
Yeah, look, there are certainly quite a few of the trends which are happening in the metaverse right now, starting with digital augmented reality. So like, essentially the AR, VR and the 3D games. So if you look at the stats as well, in the last year in the APAC region, there is 60% higher sales just from the headset perspective, which is nearly like 21 million headsets being sold in last 1 year. What that tells us is like, more and more gamers are actually trying to get their hands on within the whole virtual reality space. Yeah, for sure, like I think the gaming is here for long run, and it will lead the space. But other than that, like I think digital marketplace is another interesting one, where the commercials or the retail space that I just mentioned about, alongside like the virtual galleries, where the NFT creators will be able to showcase their arts to the collectors. So walking into the galleries, walking into the exhibition, just like you're doing it in the real world, will be something, the trend to look forward to. Two more I can mention. One is like more into the again virtual real estate. The virtual real estate, which will hold value more from a passive income perspective, just like how Airbnb is leading the space in the real world. Similar sort of a thinking has been applied by a few projects into the metaverse space. Those sort of lands which are, or the plots which are being sold in metaverse are quite interesting. And the last is the social networking space as well, I would mention, because it kind of, the users want to actually protect their identity, or they don't want to reveal themselves in the metaverse, right? Like, there are quite a few of the social networking sites which allows them to connect with each other and share ideas. They allow them to actually like, grow from any project perspective as well, and those are becoming quite famous as well lately.
Okay, it sounds like Deval has seen a lot of projects. Can you tell us about the projects you were seeing? And it's for both of you.
So
you first, Arpit.
Yeah. So Don, I'll touch upon this question, but I will go to the previous question. What about the early adopters, right? And Deval made a very powerful point there. I'll just build on top of that. So if you look at metaverse as a business, it is a platform business. Okay. When I say platform business, there is a supply side to it, there is a demand side to it. So there are a lot of ways in which you can, incentivize people to build on top of it. You can incentivize users to come. But those, if you just incentivize them, you will definitely get, in the space that we are in, a lot of people are going to flock, just to get some, some incentive tokens or something like that. But that is not going to stick. The moment those incentives thin, people are going to move to something more flashier, and we have seen this happen, with a lot of projects, right? So that's something which is not sustainable. But what is sustainable and what is going to, build that critical mass is if you can actually create a value for people. Simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less. If you are actually creating a value, then it makes sense. If you are not, then it doesn't. It may just be a something very superficial, which will not sustain maybe in the long run, right? So understanding the value that you are creating is the critical thing to ensure that you succeed in this space. Like otherwise, it's not going to stick, most likely. That's around the first question. Now, secondly, I agree with Dhaval that gaming, it has always been an early adopter of these things. It is going to rise, but I see mass adoption coming from two spaces specifically. One is social networks. So, we recently concluded a partnership with Meta. They have started exploring stuff. Then there are a lot of other social networks which are working in this space. Now, if you look at, let's say, Meta, the captive audience that they already have, the moment one POC goes out, this is going to be massive, right? It's not going to be something which is incremental. It is going to be exponential. That's one. Second is e-commerce. I also, agree there. E-commerce is going to be a space which is going to go huge, because e-commerce actually will create value. People will be able to go and, look and see the thing that they're, doing. And for example, let's say there is a mall, let's say Mall of Dubai. It's a huge mall, You enter from one side and then it takes hours and hours and you may still not cover it, right? On the contrary, it's not, for example, for my parents, it will not be possible to walk across the mall, right? What they can do is they can sit in a pod and they can have this VR headset and just, go around, and it can be assisted by all the search tools, etc. So that user journey is, made seamless. So I think their value will be there, and just because the external interface will be huge. For example, in India, if you see platform businesses, these e-commerce businesses like Flipkarts and Amazons, like they went through the roof because like masses adopted them. That is going to happen in this space also eventually. And you know, these VR headsets and AR headsets, these are going to change the space like so much that we'll not probably be able to recognize it. The moment they become cost effective, the moment, you know, some headset, I have seen headsets under 5,000 INR, you know, the moment that kind of affordability comes, this is going to be, you know, just like phones and all of that. So I think that's another critical factor for that.
Well, actually, about 6 to 7 years ago, I invested in a project that is a virtual mall, and sadly it failed because at the time, the technology isn't there. So when you said that you know, people or projects have to bring value to, you know, to actually keep the projects going, because if you focus on the incentives, if you focus on the money part, the profit part, then it will fall. Because why? You know, people stick, for example, gaming, it has to be fun. For education, they have to learn something better than they actually can do in reality, or else they would just, you know, learn in reality. Why would, you know, you go to the metaverse, or you go to, you know, doing virtual surgery for, or, you know, for NFT gallery, for example. For me, to view art, you can do it in person, but the virtual gallery can help. For example, if you're an investor or a buyer from another country, you want to view a piece of art, and that is great, but you know, you can't see it in person, then you can see it in virtual, you know, gallery. So that is something that I believe it's going to help a lot when you put values into what you do, and the mass adoption will come.
Okay, so I asked this question about how we get early adoption in the metaverse, and I wasn't actually expecting a clear answer, but I think I got one. The answer seems to be virtual reality headsets, and then the cost going down over the near future. Has this been an area you've looked at as an investor?
Yeah, certainly. Look, the technology is just like anything. Let's talk about layer one. It takes time, like, you know, to develop and scale, reliability, security perspective, everything, like, you know, and we have seen, like, you know, what the changes can be, or like, you know, what sort of like use cases can be delivered on top of that L1. Similarly, like metaverse as well, like, you know, it will take a bit of time. Like, are we close to the future? Certainly, yes, but it will, like, you know, we have looked at movies like Ready Player One, and like, you know, they have suits which you can feel things and sensations are there. It will take time to develop to that sort of a level. So just keeping an eye out in terms of, like, you know, what can we learn. So one of my fund partner, he keeps on saying most of the time, like, you know, the movies that we see, it comes to life, right? Like Contagion. We saw it was released in like 2011, we saw pandemic in like 2020. Same thing, Ready Player One, 2018, I believe it was released, and the book was written in 2011. So it's super futuristic at times, and people would like to think, oh shit, like, you know, it will take a bit of time to bring the adoption. But no, I think, like, you know, it's coming, and as soon as we start embracing it, it will actually help bring that side of the like, you know, reality as well, which is in the metaverse. And couple of just use cases which is quite relevant. Arpit mentioned about it on the government space, but I know for a fact, like, you know, I'm staying in Melbourne, and Australian government are already making things in terms of like e-visas, essentially, like, you know, not going to embassy anymore. You can potentially go to a metaverse and get your e-visa done, which is still a further away, which is they are planning on Web 5, which is a sol-based NFT, which is like, you know, your NFT is linked to your identity. It cannot be changed ever, so which is similar to your passport. So that's a sort of a forward thinking which is required in this particular space. Like banks like Union Bank has already shown that a key member will be available in Metaverse anytime, 24/7 you go to. They are able to show the bank services, products which are available in Metaverse. It's already live. The KYC is the next step of the process that they are looking for, and how to bring that in the Metaverse. So yeah, just a long answer, but yeah, to your to your question, yes, for sure. I see that happening in a very short time as such.
And in the VR headsets that you're seeing, is it all Oculus Rift, or are you seeing other?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, if you look at the last Oculus, when it comes to the quality, like, you know, and when you were wearing it, it was quite heavy. Like, you know, you cannot actually wear it for more than 2 hours. It will give you headaches. But the new VR headsets, they are actually much more friendlier in terms of how you can monitor, or where exactly how you would like to actually focus the quality as such as well. So the technology will eventually increase, and like, you know, yeah, just like anything else, like it will take a bit of time.
Will?
Actually, I think the thing we envision a big picture, right? All the Ready Player One. Actually, I love this anime called Sword Art Online, and it's very similar to Ready Player One. And I think these kind of creators are giving us a picture that we envision. And once we envision something, we can, you know, make path to make it happen. So we feel in all of the investors, the projects are filling in the details to push forward to make this happen. So to make it short, I would say that, you know, when you can imagine it, you can make it happen.
Okay,
yeah.
And okay, it looks like we're out of time, but thanks for having, it's great to have all of you on the panel. Thanks for coming, and I'm glad we had this discussion.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Thanks, John.
All right, that should be a wrap up for this morning panel discussions. We will move on to the second part, and we have the presentations of Mr. William Samozagi, the CEO of SAS Mining, with the presentation's topic of "We make Bitcoin mining with renewable energy easier and accessible to anyone." Please welcome to the stage Mr. Williams.
Thank you. So actually, before diving into the presentation, I would just like to say I'm so grateful for all of you guys coming out to this event, and I'm extremely grateful for the incredible organizers from Agora and B2B Labs. Without them and their hard work, none of this is put on. So let's give them a round of applause for bringing us all here together, guys. Out of curiosity, raise your hand if you own Bitcoin. All right. Now keep your hand raised if you own a Bitcoin mining machine, like you own a miner that can actually generate and mine new Bitcoin. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy that so few people actually own Bitcoin miners? When you think about it, a Bitcoin miner is like real estate on steroids. It's a hard asset, and that hard asset allows you to generate passive income. It's almost like a money printer, yet very few people end up actually owning mining rigs. And so I'm actually going to call on one of you guys from the audience here. There are no wrong answers, but out of curiosity, you in the front filming, I'll call on you. What's your name? Benoit from Hanoi. All right, so Benoit from Hanoi, you raised your hand saying that you own Bitcoin, but you don't own a mining rig. So what do you think has been the biggest obstacle for you or anyone else that doesn't own a mining rig to get involved with Bitcoin mining?
I think the complexity of starting a Bitcoin mining facility, understanding the technology, the cost of startup, as an investor, and there's an easy platform to actually make it happen.
Exactly. For those of you who didn't hear, and this is the most common answer, it's very complex to begin mining Bitcoin. And so what do we do at SAS Mining? Well, at SAS Mining, we've created a platform that makes it easy for you to begin mining Bitcoin with renewable energy. Now, if you think about, and I really do want you to think about this deeply, if you were to begin mining Bitcoin today, like right now, how would you do it? If you're like most people, there is no easy answer to that question. And that's because mining Bitcoin today is very complex. If you wanted to get started mining Bitcoin the right way, you're looking at having to invest roughly 7 months of your time and roughly $5 million to get started. And because of this, it's keeping many people outside of Bitcoin mining. So we asked a very important question. And that question was, what happens if you make Bitcoin mining as easy as your Netflix subscription? In that world, in a world with SaaS mining, instead of needing to invest 7 months of your time to get started, you can get started in 1 minute. And instead of needing $5 million to get started, you can get started at less than $5,000. Less than 1/1000th of the amount of money to begin mining Bitcoin. But how do you do this? You need a superstar team to make this happen. You need to have expertise in Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. You need to have expertise in scaling organizations. You need to have expertise in building a model that works. And this is where SaaS Mining's team really shines. I myself have been a CEO and founder for 8 years, and I've had the opportunity to host a SaaS Mining podcast. If you go check it out, you'll get to see interviews with politicians, public company executives in the Bitcoin mining industry. And why is this important? It's because you need these relationships to be able to get the best pricing on mining, to achieve economies of scale. But it goes past just past the connections all the way down to the actual organizational leadership. And that's where Kent Halliburton really shines. I like to say that Kent is the best leader that you'll ever meet. He is such an incredible leader who has public company executive experience, but he also has scaled this exact business model before. But he's done it in the solar industry. And that is what the business needs if you're going to take it to that next level. But finally, we've got as our CFO the one and only Patrick Hidalgo. When you think about traditional finance, look no further than Patrick. Patrick had $15 billion worth of responsibilities under him at Countrywide, under the Bank of America conglomerate. But not only that, he went on and was director of trading at a $600 million hedge fund, and then was also a CFO previously at Bit, a company in the crypto industry. So I want to put you in the shoes of, pretend you're in the shoes of the SaaS Mining executive team, and you're trying to back up this executive team with the best advisors in the world for this business. Who would you recruit? Who would you recruit to scale this business? I'll show you who we chose. Sarah McKenna, the first ever female chief of staff of the Australian government. Paul Wenner, a previously successful entrepreneur who had $1 billion exit for a product he was leading to Oracle. Carrie Hayes, the current president of REC Solar, one of the largest solar companies in the entire world. We've got John Schaefer. Many people don't know this about John, but he actually sold the first ever solar panel and then started the company Real Goods and took it public. Moving on, we've got the one and only Benoit Thanjan. Some of you guys may have met him here at the event. He goes by Benoit from Hanoi. He's right here in the front row. We also got Scott Kerbel. Scott was a managing director of HSBC Bank for over 25 years and now runs a crypto fund. It's a long slide, we'll get through it. We got Brandon Quittem. He is the head of growth at Swan Bitcoin, one of the fastest growing companies in the Bitcoin industry, but he also is a big influencer when it comes to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. And then finally, to round it all out, we got the one and only Troy Cross. I mean, when you think about someone out there talking about mining and preaching the gospel around renewable energy and its importance in mining, Troy Cross is your guy. So this begs the question, what brings all these incredible people to a project? What do you have to be working on that gets all these people to work at a company? I'll actually open it up to you guys. How big do you think this industry is? How big do you think the addressable market is with a bottoms-up approach? Feel free to shout anything out. We got 15 billion. Any other guesses? Today, you are looking at a $24 billion market. And the exciting thing about this is that when you speak with a lot of the experts, most of you guys in this audience are the experts in this, we all believe that we're in the early chapters of this industry and that it's going to grow tremendously over time. It's a very big market. So who are we competing with? Well, the most direct competition holds under 1% of the entire addressable market. It's like you're in your own blue ocean in terms of the positioning within the entire industry. And so with that said, that brings us to today and why we're here. If you are in our shoes, let's say that you have a company that has got a lot of traction and you've got a whole huge wait list of customers. You've got an all-star team with people ready to eat up market share. And finally, you're ready to scale. What comes next? Well, today we're raising $14 million. And the reason why we're raising $14 million is to service the demand of customers on the wait list. But not only that, it's to go and deploy that capital and reserve more space for the growing wait list of customers. So there's only so much that you can go through in 10 minutes, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to this. In summary, you've got a $24 billion market today. It's growing very quickly, and the projections put the company at over $100 million in EBITDA profit by 2026. Also, I know that you all have a very busy conference ahead of you. There's a lot of meetings going on later today, and I said it at the beginning, but the organizers here are absolutely incredible. So if you want to take the time to meet with us, just let them know and they'll slot you in. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentations, Mr. Williams. To follow up, we have the second presentations of Mr. Agostinho Wibisono, the CEO of Sankara Misa, with the presentation's topic of tokenizations in traditional business. Please welcome to the stage.
Hello, good day everyone. It's my honor to be here. This will be quick because maybe it's a little bit boring because I talk about the traditional to digitalization. I always like to be a traditional one because I believe in the past when we don't live on the social media, we meet each other, we gather each other, and it's more fun than now we just see our phone, looking for somebody is not here. Even I believe everybody in here maybe not know each other, even it's a stranger sit on your next and you don't know who is her or his name. Yeah, that's happened in this day, right? So, I talk about Indonesia. Indonesia is my country. It's on the Golden Belt in the equator line. It's an agriculture country with archipelago. We have 280 million people population, number 4 in the world. Economic mostly support by agriculture sector, and 100 million people is working on this sector. But as you know, as a developing country, the lowest on the economic chain is the farmer. The farmer is the producer. We believe what we eat out there, if there's no farmers, we cannot enjoy. We cannot eat today. But who cares? The farmers always the producer, but the price is depends on the market, not depends on the producer. So sad. Yeah, but that's happened. Rice, corn, potato, anything that we eat, wheat, It depends on the market, not depends on them. As you know, until June 2022, already 22 countries stopping exporting their food. You know what it means? There is an idiom, be graceful, because now your bread is free. But after the carbon credit, because you are a producer of the carbon, someday bread will be like the mineral water in front of you. You need to pay, because you are supplying carbon to the world. Okay. This is the problems. Mostly the problems, blah, 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 blah. It's just a problems basically is just one. What is financial inclusion? That's the first time is talked by Bill Gates, is real. I believe if you are bankers here, if there is a traditional farmer come to your office with the short pants, hey, I need a loan. Will you give to them? No, I believe so. No, you will not give any loan to farmer because they are poor. That is the problem. And to push the food production, what people use? Chemical. Any chemical use is a pollution, but push the produce of food, because we need food, because we need a lot of food. That's why I say organic is the best, but you need to wait a little bit longer. What is the solution? The solution is Sankara itself. We have vision and mission. I believe that you are not interested to see this, but our mission and our vision is to, what we believe is, crypto without any business inside, without any traditional income, it's just a GameFi, it's just a money game, it's just a Ponzi, it's just a scam. Cryptocurrency, I talk about cryptocurrency. But this crypto digital, if we talk about blockchains, it will be more easier if we're talking. I believe the blockchain technology will be the backbone of all financial tech in the future. Bank transfer, saving, we had earning. Staking, it's same with deposit. Farming, it's same with equity shares. Blockchain already have all of it. Just how we do that. Just how we gonna use that. What is Sankara Misa? We are a legal entity built in Indonesia, in Jakarta, September 2021. Already initiated on 2017 using the, we are the peer-to-peer lending, person-to-person lending in Jakarta. This is the first token, Sankara Misa. You can check on CoinMarketCap. Why Sankara? I talking here about coming soon business, not coming soon one. It's already there. We have an agriculture land in Pemalang, Central Java, Indonesia. We have an industrial land in Wonogiri, Central Java, and also building some land and few cities in Indonesia. We are already listing on this exchange, global exchange. We have, why we sign an agreement with APD? I believe so. If you see me, a fat man in front of you is a farmer. I don't know how to plant something and grow. It's not me. But we have a big association in Indonesia named APD. APD have worked together with us since November 2021. We built 100 hectares of rice field, 10 hectares of melon, 10 hectares of coffee plantation, and also 10 hectares of ground peanuts. We work together with them. And for ourselves, we also grow 11.5 hectares of pineapples. That's what we built. Mostly of the crypto, they are the developer, they are the custodian, they got everything. But we not. We make our partner as a custodian. So if you're asking, I put the money in Sankara, who is manage this one? APD will do. The farmer will do. Who is control? We are the curator. We are the audit. This is what Sankara do. Why we working together with the association. We want to digitalizing the village economy, so it will be cut the chain of distribution directly from the farmer to you guys. And we have a warehouse receipt system. It means everybody can see what is every village have. This village A have a rice, this village B have a corn, this village C maybe have an onion, this village C have a melon, etc. So this is a warehouse receipt that we creating. Will be on indonesiabig.com. That is our marketplace. We are developing more digital. Now we're developing how to fund the farmer directly from you guys. With the warehouse, you will know what is the product, how is the product, and where you can find them. And also the capital. Like I say, the capital is coming from you guys directly to the farmers, but controlling by APD and audit by us. So we are not alone. What we, horticulture, organic rice, and also mostly a plantation like coffee, chocolate, ground peanuts, and etc. How you can buy the land by itself. That's why we create a sankaraland.io. With sankaraland.io, you can have your own plantation. You can have your own rice field. You can own your own coffee plantation. You can have it for sometimes. We selling NFT as a certificate for your ownership. It's a smart contract. And the productivity of the land, the result, the real harvest will be yours. This is still on the beta phase. It means we will launch everything in a game after this. A GameFi with metaverse, with the real land, with the real business, with the real harvest. Sankaraland.io. Your money directly give to the farmer. We selling the first phase, second phase, and now on the third phase. Only a small things we open in Banten. 5harvesto.com is the brand. Okay, this is, I already get the, okay, gaming, farming, social life, and invest. A real map with a game map. This is what we have, 300 hectares in Garut, Badega, 500 hectares in Samosir, 500 hectares in Banten. Land function for agriculture, farm, sea, pond, mining, and village. Now what already have is agriculture and farm. farm, we're working together with in Malaysia. After this, I will show you what is the comparison with the other metaverse. NFT based on the land, real size in a real world. You can find it on a map. NFT is a certificate to land ownership for 10 years maximum. What we selling now is only 1 year and less than 1 year. Holder action in the game after the GameFi is ready will be impact on the real life. And after that, if we're talking about plantation, also we're talking about carbon credit. Hope this G20 November in Indonesia will have a solution. How much is the carbon will be sold? And we already have the land with the plantation. It means we have a potential in carbon credit. This is what we have. SankaraNFT.com is an art. Bantaya Hall is a music platform. Sankaraland.io, you can see, is a metaverse. BatikID.com is a batik NFT. And PamorStudio.com is mostly like Netflix, but now in Indonesia movie. This is our partner, APD, and the newest one is Rimau Nangis, SDN BHD from Malaysia. We will build a rimaunangis.io for them. And this Rimau Nangis, the interesting thing is you can plant the Napier grass and get insurance of that. So your capital, initial capital will be safe. Yeah. ARC36 is our investor. It's digital asset investment from Cyprus. Batik Semar is a batik, is brand batik from Indonesia and Pamor Studio. Okay, this is the planning for 8 years ahead. Yeah, metaverse, currency, etc. I believe you. Okay, that is all for me. If there are any questions, I will still around here. I will be happy to have a discussion later. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Mr. Oxtinio, for the presentations. And now we will be having the last presentations from Mr. Michael John Penelosa, CEO of Roaster World, with the presentations topic of how sustainability in GameFi can happen. Yes, please welcome to the stage.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Hello. Good afternoon. All right. So today I'll discuss, how sustainability in GameFi can happen. This is a result of our 6 to 8 month worth of R&D in this space. Yeah, and I'll share it with you. Don't worry, I'm not gonna pitch you guys. What's coming up is what we feel is what's holding back it from happening, what we can do, how we can measure it, and what the future may hold for GameFi. So my name is Mikhail. My background is I'm a growth hacker, entrepreneur, and data analyst for the past 14 years. I'm a digital marketer for multiple global brands, mostly high-ticket luxury goods. And I led large-scale campaigns, more than $100 million in value. So usually companies come to me and ask and optimize their growth strategy. Like they give me, let's say, budget 100,000 to advertise things. It has to be 200,000 tomorrow, something like that. And now I'm the CEO of Metadata, a Web3, an end-to-end Web3 game development studio. So in my opinion, GameFi is a different genre altogether. So you can have a game of the year level type of game, but if it has bad economics, it's still a terrible game. So we cannot put two into, it's apples and oranges, in my opinion. And we have to treat it like, it's a different genre. GameFi to me, it's not like traditional games. It's a new genre that involves economic design. Numbers are very important here because let's face it, when people join GameFi, they are there to earn, not just play. Because if I want to play, I'll just go to Steam or play my PlayStation. So what's holding back the industry right now? Number one thing for me is the unrealistic player expectations, because we've been the market has been programmed by, oh, I can get, if I just play and do this, I'll get free money. That doesn't work. Reality is it doesn't work that way. There has to be investment. Something has to happen. There has to be a reward system. And that's a result of earning being prioritized by the studios. Our fascination with cryptocurrencies and the speculative aspect of it. And what's happening in GameFi 1 is we just gamified the staking process, yield farming, and DeFi, and all those things. And value is sacrificed for price. What we mean by this is we're too focused on the up and down action of the tokens instead of actually creating value within the ecosystem and sharing it with all the stakeholders involved in the process. So what we can do is really mapping out the game design strategy of the game or whatever the product is. And in doing so, incentivize active play and user engagement. You know, in traditional Web 2, value is determined by actions, right? Like if you go to Facebook, if someone likes or shares or comments, or clicks on a button or converts after clicking on something, that's value. What we need to do is to put the moving parts that are happening in the game and then put the value behind it. Value is the most important thing that needs to be simulated in a game. The fun part, of course, is still very important because to me, the fun aspect of the game is is like, you know, is the top of funnel part of the conversion process. It's the thing that hooks people in. Similar to like when you travel to a different country, what they get there, what's the fun part, what's in it for you. Also, next would be, this is the complicated part. What we feel in GameFi, because there are 4 different types of personas involved. Number one is the players. Players who are actually playing the game. Second are the builders. These are people that want to run businesses using the game. Third are the developers, who are actually making the game behind the scenes. Fourth is the investors, like you guys. Like what's the decision made? What's the thinking process for each one of them? So games must think about reasons why these personas will either hold, continue to invest, or dump the tokens. Ideally, you need to create more reasons to hold or buy than dumping, so it can be made sustainable. Another thing that I think that needs to change is the idle staking and farming of not doing anything. The simple staking and farming does not create value for the system. What really needs to happen is value creation and triggering network effects, leveraging the game design to trigger network effects for growth. And lastly, to give users options to recoup their investments by being entrepreneurial. So this already happens in Web 2. People usually, like, you know, the best example for me is like network marketing. You buy product, you need to create more buyers. And in a way, if you're successful with it, then you can generate revenue. So the tricky part that needs to be solved now is the relationship of the free user and the paying user. Free users, in my opinion, in GameFi should be the catalysts of growth in the ecosystem, and they have to benefit the paying users. So the paying users, in turn, give money to the free users, or create or leverage the free users in their business or role inside the ecosystem. So here's some of the things that free players can do. So they can invest time to learn the game and its economic drivers, create value for premium users, maybe management, assistance, things like that. In a competitive space, they can become an attractive talent to premium investors. And lastly, work as a growth agent for premium users. They have to be incentivized in a way that triggers transactions and exchange of value between the free and paid users. Second problem is unsustainable business models. So I feel like the sustainability aspect has already been solved, and it's already happening now. It's just that in GameFi, there's not a lot. They're actually applying sound business models. So some of the things that we can do is apply real-world business models that are already working in GameFi, and then just use blockchain technology on places that matter. So NFTs as the like the receipts of ownership on things, the blockchain part as to automate the exchange of value and financial stuff inside the system. So what can make it sustainable is to apply tried and tested business models like freemium, subscription, or paid, and generally create a profitable project, whether or not it has a blockchain aspect to it. So profit and revenue and value is what's most important. Third problem that needs solving is unutilized community engagement. There's this saying in the digital marketing world that the money is in your list. So basically that means if you have a customer base that are already paying, or each stage of where your customer is coming from, that's what dictates the value. What's amazing with GameFi, in my opinion, is that everyone is investors. If everyone are investors, that means each stakeholder in the system has a vested interest in the overall success of the project. And I feel like that's the one thing that has not yet really been leveraged upon in the current industry. So what we want to do different is to actually allow players to run the in-game business. So in Web 2, right, billions of dollars are already being spent on microtransactions, and it's usually done by the main developer only. But what about user-generated content? What if we let users run sell the stuff that's being sold as microtransactions? Maybe we sell them the skins, make them sell things that are critical in the game, but not really make it pay to win, something that allow them to flex or something like that. So that's why in our game, for example, in Rooster Wars, we have a thing called an optional item that's an emoji. So emojis or chat wheels in some other games are some of the things that are already being bought by players. So it allows you to mess with your enemy's mind or things like that in competitive play. In our game, we allow the guilds or whoever to sell emojis to their players, and in turn monetize the community in their own base of players. What's important, in my opinion, is always creating reasons for the users to continuously invest or purchase or drive value within the ecosystem. So the key metric for me in GameFi is gross protocol revenue, or GPV. So this represents the overall value and dollar exchange that's happening inside the system. Not the market cap, not the trading volume, but the actual revenue that's happening inside the closed-loop ecosystem. So, yeah, that was it. Yeah, so in my opinion, GameFi 1 is gamifying yield farming. GameFi 2.0 should gamify revenue generation for all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. It's the value chain, the value exchange that needs to be gamified, not the DeFi aspects of it. And to me, GameFi design should be like you're creating and designing the economic policies of a country. There has to be trade, there has to be businesses, and there should always be money flowing. Yeah, so that's it. So that's my keynote. Thank you guys. I hope you learned a few things. Thank you.
Right, so thank you, Mika, for the interesting presentation right there. That's the wrap up for the morning sections. We have 2 panel discussion, 3 presentation in total, and focusing on NFT, GameFi, and also Metaverse. For the afternoon sections, we'll be talking more about DeFi, MetaFi, and Web3. So we will be seeing each other again in the meeting rooms at 2 p.m. this afternoon, and outside we do have the coffee break and follow up by the one-on-one meeting in the other rooms next to this. So you please have some time to have the coffee outside, and the meeting rooms is in the next room, just around the next room. So I'll see you guys in the afternoon sections then. Thank you.